Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Okay, so we're going to start with a 90 seconds intro. This is mostly for you guys. Eyal Waldman is one of the co-founders of Galileo Technologies in 1993, a fabulous semiconductor company that went public on Nasdaq in 1997 for approximately $250 million and was later sold to Marvell for around $2.7 billion. Eyal left Galileo Technologies in 1999 to start Mellanox Technologies, a leading supplier of end-to-end InfiniBand and Ethernet interconnect solutions and services for server and storage systems. Mellanox is a public company at a market cap of approximately $2 billion after acquiring EasyChip for more than $800 million as what seems to be the largest high-tech acquisition ever in the local high-tech industry. He is 55 years old, was born in Jerusalem, has 3 kids, holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and Master of Science in Electrical Engineering from the Technion. Eyal spent, this is Wikipedia. Eyal spends half of his time abroad. He has a personal jet and a yacht and known as one that enjoy what life have to offer him. This is Eyal Waldman. So, at which point of time did you told yourself, I made it?
I don't think I made it.
But was ever such a point that you relaxed somewhere and you said, wow, this was a long process, but now I'm confident I'm going to succeed?
I really think we're just in the beginning.
You thought that from the beginning?
No, I really think we're now just at the beginning.
Wow, in the beginning, okay. So Eyal actually born in Jerusalem. And like we always do in Startup Grind, we start by trying to understand a bit of the history and biography of our guest. So could you please just describe for a short, where did you grow, what like your parents do, you studied, what kind of child were you?
No, well, my mom did her PhD in biochemistry. My dad was an economist in the agricultural ministry. They got divorced when I was very young. I grew up in Rehovot, Jerusalem, Scotland. Then,
when did you move to Scotland?
when I was like 11, 12 years old.
Did you have the Scottish accent at the time?
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
Okay. And what kind of, did you have this kind of child dream to be an entrepreneur when you were young, or?
No.
What were your dreams? Like the best job ever?
I had many things I wanted to do, but race cars, go do professional scuba diving, windsurf, many things.
But you're in Jerusalem. Jerusalem do not go to the sea.
Yeah, but I was always in the sea.
Okay. And later, so you moved from Jerusalem abroad, and you came back. You went to the army. You've been in Golani, right? Troops.
Yes.
Anything amazing about Golani troops you want to share with us?
I think Golani is the best place to do so many things. It's not funny. I think you're educated, you're trained, you learn what tough life really means, what you can do, what you cannot do. It's a huge teamwork, so I think you learn a lot. You learn to be less afraid of things you're facing, to overcome scaredness, and you're scared all the time. So you learn that it's not the worst things, and you learn how to deal with it and be calm, make the right decisions even under pressure. So it's a very good training. I also did officer's course, so I was an officer. So I think this is even a better training because you're trained how to lead people, how to motivate people, how to incentivize people. So it was a great experience in the army.
And you finished the army around 83, I think, and you went to study in the Technion. But you didn't really went to study engineering, right, in the beginning.
Yeah, there was a Lebanon war. They didn't let me out of the army on time. They kept me for another 5 months or something like this. So I got out, and the only place that started teaching in the middle of the year was the Technion. So I asked them, what will they accept me? They said chemical engineering or civil engineering. So I started chemical engineering. And then I saw that the guys that had good grades went to computer science. So I put a request to move to computer science without knowing what it is. I never touched a computer before. And they said, okay, you're accepted because I had good grades. So I went to computer science, and then I had all the friends in the chemical engineering, and I said, why am I doing this? But I didn't feel comfortable asking them to put me back in chemicals. So I started learning computing engineering, and I liked it. So that's how I became a computer engineer.
And you finished your bachelor degree, and you went. Your first job was in Intel Elbit.
No, yeah, it was Elbit. We did. I did like software for submarines, and then software for the mission computer for the Aviv for the F-16.
So about the Lavi, anyone doesn't know about the Lavi project? I mean, Lavi project was maybe the largest project in Israel, maybe the largest software project in Israel. Israel tried to...
It wasn't a software project. It was a huge...
we
built a plane.
Yeah, Israel tried to build a plane.
It's not software. It's a real thing. It flies. It does many other things, not just software.
Right, and I asked you when we met before about this. When the Lavi project ended, I was a child, and I remember a lot of people were like, people thought, I think it was 50% thought it's terrible, and the other thought it's good, it's a good idea, it was cost too much. What you thought about the Lavi project for the industry?
So I didn't think Israel should develop our own fighter plane. I think it's a mistake. And for the industry, it was great because we brought a lot of technology into the country. Right. But if you ask from an economical perspective, it was a big mistake.
Okay. At what point of time? So you finish Elbit, and then you kept on moving. At what point of time you kind of understood you want to be an entrepreneur?
No, so I did my second degree while working at Elbit, and then I went full-time being a master's student in the Technion. And after finishing the Technion, I went to Intel. And at Intel, after 2 years, I said, okay, I understand what's going on, but we want to do something ourselves. And I took like two friends, and we went to bars every week. Our girlfriends and later on wives said we just wanted to hang out, but we sat in bars, in clubs, and tried to understand what we can do next. And we had this ritual of like for 3 or 4 months going out every, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesdays. But we didn't find an idea that we said, okay, this is going to catch, this is going to be successful. So we said, okay, next thing is to do like open a design center for American companies in Israel. So we started calling CEOs of large American companies or Japanese companies. One of the companies was IDT. I remember the name of the guy is Len Perham. He's now leading another company. And he said, it was a Friday evening in Israel. It was like Friday morning in California. And we did a presentation to him and said,
About what?
About opening a design center in Israel for IDT. We said, look at Intel, look at National, look at IBM. IDT doesn't have a design center. We can open one, and you're going to get the best engineering team in the world. And he thought, and actually he had a guy which worked with Victor Villens, who came and founded Galileo, was our CEO, and he said, why don't you just do a Victor? We met a Victor, and then we were like 4 guys that started Galileo. So after 3.5 years at Intel, I retired from Intel and went to work and started Galileo Technology.
And actually Galileo was not like a standard startup. It was not bootstrapping. You got funded from IDT, right?
We got funding from IDT and then from the Bird Foundation. And only then we raised money from VCs.
And your first office was somewhere in the north?
Yeah, in Carmiel. We had like a storage house. It was like an incubator at that time, but it was like a very small machsan. And we were like 4 guys, then 5, 6, and we started developing devices.
And this was the beginning of Galileo, right?
Yes.
And Galileo, at what point of time you understand Galileo is a great company, something you can grow
From day one.
from day one?
Okay, it's like
Well,
you
because
start a company, and I think a company has a life of first you need to start defining the product. After you define the product, you need to execute and develop the product. Then you need to start selling it, and I think you start seeing revenues. When you get to be profitable, it's another milestone, but you keep growing the company. So we felt from day one that we have a good product. We had a customer waiting for it. That time it was printers. And then it went to communications, and then went to data communications, and you feel the traction, you feel that you're moving in the right direction. So we always kept growing, we always saw more products, more traction with companies.
actually today Galileo in Israel is actually the base of
It's
Marvell,
part of
right?
Marvell, yeah.
Part of
Galileo
Marvell.
was sold to Marvell about a year after I left,
Okay.
for like 2.7. Yeah,
And then you left Galileo and you started the Mellanox,
yes.
right?
I was in the US when I did that, yes.
With the same co-founders, with the
No,
same
no,
team?
no.
Where the idea came from?
So I left Galileo because Avigdor and I didn't agree on what's going on and how to continue with Galileo. Then I sat at home for like 2 weeks and decided I want to do something else. There are people calling if you're going to do something we want to invest, or if you're going to do something we want to join. And I read an article in EE Times which talked about a new standard of ion. I said, okay, that's something that's interesting, and we started doing this. It was called Future. Before I raised money, I went to talk to VCs to see that it makes sense. I met Erwin Federman from US Venture Partners and Pierre Lamont from Sequoia Capital. And they thought it's a good idea, and they were willing to invest. I funded the company from my money for about 9 months, and then we raised the first round.
And you actually started in the US, or you came back to Israel?
No,
to
I was
open
in the
the-
US. I stayed in the US for another 3 years. I had 3 or 4 guys here, and that's how I started.
Yeah, that's a good story from starting from 3, 4 guys in Israel. Because today in Israel, Mellanox is a big company, right?
I don't think we're big.
Yeah, well,
We're
according to
2,600
Israel,
employees.
600 employees.
2,600,
2,600, including EasyChip.
including EasyChip.
2,600.
And we're worth 2.6 billion. Not just, but that's okay. $500 million between you and me, it's nothing.
Okay, yep. What is $500 million?
Billion.
$500 million, right? Anyone want to ask questions? Yeah, it's good because you're very close.
Okay. First off, to start, I'm Kirill, 20 years old from Ranana. Nice to meet you. Very enlightening talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is, when you are in Israel and your main markets are in the States and in Canada, and you want to raise money from there, how do you start? What do you do?
So I was very lucky because I had I had a startup. I was involved in a startup, so I was in the industry already, and people knew about it. So you call friends that know VCs, and you're being introduced to the venture capitals, and you do a presentation. You're prepared, and you go and present. And if they like it, they invest. If they don't, they don't. It's a simple process. They're looking for ideas to invest in, and if you have a good idea, they invest. So I said, you're going to ask. You probably know people that are like 1 phone call away or 2 phone calls away from anyone in the industry. I think I'm like 1 or 2 phone calls away from anyone in the industry. So call the right guy, and he'll get you to introduced.
Okay, thanks. About Mellanox, so what kind of technologies and what kind of companies today are interesting for Mellanox?
You mean to acquire or to invest?
To
So we're
acquire,
also
to invest.
investing. So we have Mellanox Capital. We're also investing in companies. So we are focusing in the data center. So technology in the data center where we can take more real estate, which is physical air, silicon photonics, fiber optics, copper cables, switches, software on top of that. So it's hardware and software in the data center.
And anyone is here from this industry, by the way? from storage, whatever. I mean,
But by the way, doing a startup, it doesn't really matter if you're a hardware or software or anything in between. Startup is startup, and the same basic elements and status apply to all of them.
the what, Ilan? You okay? You're from the same industry. Okay. The Easy Chip deal. People wrote about that a lot in the in the newspaper, I think, and I read actually in the newspaper and in news. And it sounds like it was like the largest high-tech acquiring in Israel. Is it something you thought about during the process, or you just thought it's a great deal for Mellanox?
No, I didn't think it's the largest. I didn't care about that.
You didn't care about that. It's just about the news, and all these.
You actually don't really care what they write about you. I mean, I don't, and it's important. Because you don't work for the analyst, you don't work for the journalist. They can write whatever they want. It doesn't really matter. What you need to care about is execution, execution, execution.
And you told me a nice story about closing the deal. Because you knew the CEO before, right? Is the chip CEO or the founder before, but you closed the deal like in a very special place.
No, we didn't. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we met. EasyChip is a neighbor company to Mellanox in Yokneam, and we were not friends, but we met from time to time for lunches because I thought it's a good technology 4 or 5 years ago, but I thought they're too expensive. So from time to time, I kept pinging and taking him out to lunch. And one of the lunches is we usually went to there's an Arabic restaurant called El Babu. We went there, and that's where we kind of closed the deal.
On a napkin, I think that was.
Maybe.
You have the napkin?
I think on a lamp, but it's something else. Al shishlik. Well, I don't think we wrote anything.
A lot of people, I mean, are interesting of how a small company can scale, like you scale. Mellanox is quite a big company today. Transition from a single market to global market and single product to multiple products. I would love to hear your ideas about that.
So first you need to ensure that you're in a big market. And a big market is more $500 million in terms of revenue. If you're in a smaller market, you build a company for an acquisition because you can't really grow and build a large company. So our market is about $12 billion market that we can sell into. That's ours. And I think every time we're increasing the TAM that we can serve. So every year we're adding more products, we're adding more technology so we can actually sell more. So now we're at about $12 billion TAM. What's important is to have the right team, the right infrastructure, build everything in a very healthy manner from the day one. So all the financials, all the technologies, be very robust, very resilient. You cannot cut corners. If you cut corners and you don't do the right verification, you'll have bugs, people will find it, it's going to bite you later. And when you do things right from day one, then you can scale, you find more markets, people trust in you, they feel more comfortable using you again and again. And then you build more products, you take a larger share of the market you're playing in, and then you go to additional territories. Initially we started in the US, then we went to China, Japan, Europe, and you start developing. So day one you focus on one product which has a big market, probably 1 or 2 or 3 territories, then you go to 5 territories, 9 territories, you continue building more products, more product lines, but you need to know exactly what you're doing, you need to be very professional in terms of reliability, quality, resiliency. Mellanox now sells to EMC, to Oracle, to Teradata, to Homeland Security, to a lot of I mean, all of you guys are touching your phone and you go to many Web 2 applications, they run on us. And if they fail for even 5 seconds, it's a huge loss of money for them, and they don't like that. So we're very resilient, we're very robust, make sure your applications don't fail. They're trustworthy by many other places. So if you build it that way, you can really scale and become a very large company.
If you're looking for entrepreneurs, not just in the same sector you are, what do you think about partnering with market leaders like Mellanox to grow your own team, to grow your own product, to grow your own company, and try to to succeed, or partner with big ones?
No, I think the best thing is to do it yourself. And I see a lot of incubators and so on. I think a company starts and has its own life, its own responsibility. If you rely on someone else to do something for you, you're weaker. So don't be in a weak position. Do everything yourself from day one. don't trust anyone in terms of, and don't rely on anyone, because if they do a mistakes, you fail, it's a big problem. And people do mistakes, people don't execute all the time. So don't trust anyone, don't rely on anyone, do everything yourself, and grow with the company.
You have a very nice story I read about Mellanox trying to. You told me don't talk too much, just do things. Be more doing stuff, right?
I wouldn't be here if Shlomo wouldn't ask me. So I actually prefer doing things than talking about them. But yes.
And okay, but you did speak about, and you did do stuff helping our neighbors. I think that is in Gaza, and also in you
No,
have employees also in.
We have employees in Ramallah, in
Ramallah,
Nablus, and now we actually have 3 employees in Gaza,
And this
as of like a week ago.
And this is why. I mean, you have enough engineers in Israel, right? Why to go to Gaza?
First, you can get as much help as you can all over the world. We have design centers in Denmark, in Netherlands, in China, in many places in the U.S., now in Ukraine and more places.
But for you, it's more than just the workforce.
Yeah, I think that it's time that we make peace in this area and not just talk about it. So we employ about 65. I'm not doing it for clapping hands, but because I'm not for popularity, I'm for execution. Yeah, I think it's important. We have about 64 employees in the West Bank, and we're going to move them to Rawabi from Ramallah and Nablus, and we now have 3 employees in Gaza. It's working pretty well.
It's a new neighborhood?
Rawabi, it's a new city.
Oh, the new city.
Yeah, that's been built. It's near Rosh Hashanah. It's now been populated, so there's about 120 families already living there. I think in the summer, by the end of the year, we'll move Mellanox in Palestine to Rawabi. And I think it's important because they don't like us, we don't like them, but you need to do peace with people you don't like. So I think if more people employ and talk and work together, I think we have a chance to build something positive here.
And your vision about that will be to have as how
I
many
think if
employees?
Checkpoint, NICE, Teva, and many others employ thousands, and I mean they have a huge unemployment there. I think sometimes 60%, 70% unemployment. If we employ and work together, it doesn't mean they're going to like us more, but they're going to build relationships. They're going to be like intertwined. Their future is going to be relying on us, our future. So I think if we do these things, we have a much better position to talk about peace and really do things. And I have friends there, and you start feeling more traction and more things about that. Again, we don't go to the headlines, we don't talk too much. Actually, they're going to do something about this on TV, but it's not our initiatives, it's someone else's initiatives.
Yeah, but it's really it's interesting and awesome. A company can do such a thing.
And I think the human resources there are very cheap. They're like a third in engineering in Israel. So if you want cheap HR and human resources, you can do it there.
And I was wondering about going back to Mellanox products. What is the vision for Mellanox? I mean, what is the next big thing for Mellanox?
We're pretty close to get to the $1 billion revenue. We want to close to get multi-billion-dollar revenues, come up with new products, take more value, add more value in the data centers for our customers. We have so many things we're doing. So there's many fronts we're doing.
But you spoke about open source, which I didn't even think is relevant to the sector
No, I mean half of our design center is software guys. We're doing a huge amount of software. We're doing Linux, Windows, VMware virtualization, KVM, all of the new stuff that BIOS, kernel code. We're actually the infrastructure for the data center, for storage, for compute, for networking, for communication. So yeah, I mean, what we're doing now is, if you think of that, every day there's more devices like the one we just saw now that produces and consuming data. Every day there's more applications that consume and produce data. Guess what? You need someone to move the data. We move it the fastest, the best. Every 28 phones out there, you need another server in the data center. So data is very important, and we move it the best. So I think we can take a larger share of the data center, of the market.
Wow. And about the open source, you actually develop code that you can share with others?
Yeah, most of the code we develop in Mellanox, we open source it. because we want to build an ecosystem around our products that enable us to sell more.
And this has been started when? It's like something new? It's like from the...
No?
No? Forever?
Yeah?
Wow. Okay. Anyone?
Why is it so surprising?
Because I didn't know, like Mellanox for me, it's kind of hardware, software.
No, half of our products are software products, and we make more and more software products. I mean, we're not just a hardware company.
Questions about Mellanox? Yes, Gil.
What's the biggest challenge for Mellanox today, and what's the biggest challenge that you can think about you'll have in 2-3 years from now?
So today our biggest challenges is competition, and we need to stay ahead of Intel. So we're competing with companies that are 100 times in all aspects bigger than us, and what we need to do is stay ahead of them. So the biggest challenge for us, and I think we're executing very good, is to keep a generation ahead of Intel, Broadcom, and so on, sometimes Cisco and others. In the future, it's just, if we maintain to be the leadership, is to actually take more real estate from other companies in the data center. And so we compete with very large companies. We want to become a large company. And you know, now we're managing 2,500 employees. I think managing a larger number of employees is going to be a big challenge. So you need to make sure that you're a big company, but you still work as a startup. So you're very efficient, you save money, your utilization is big. So it's, growing comes with growth pains, and you need to manage it in the right way.
You just nominated like 10 new positions. That was all over the
VPs,
newspapers.
yeah.
Yeah, VPs. So this is probably, you know, for the scaling.
Yeah, I think the company is growing, and we did every year, we do a focal review and we give promotions. Yeah. We do
They
focal.
do focal.
Why are we better? Just why? So the question, what's the unique about us that they choose you? So it's the people, it's the human resources. We execute better.
This is the next question. It's,
No, we execute better. Look, I'll give you an example, okay? When you're training, you can kill a guy with 1 bullet, or you can kill with 5 bullets. Okay, we kill with 1 bullet. It's a big difference. And if you have units that kill with 5 bullets, they're much less efficient. And they'll have many more people wounded, because by the time they kill someone, they'll be killed also, or some of them. So if you kill with 1 bullet, you're more efficient. So when your team is good, and that's what we try to do. They take 100 bullets to kill someone. That's about... It's not that simple. That's exactly what I said before. When you grow and become a large company, you want to stay capable of killing with 1 bullet. And that's a problem. So when you come with a new elite unit, and that's what we started, and now you're becoming a brigade, and now you're becoming a division, and you want to stay as good as you were when you were in an elite unit. And that's the challenge that's in front of us, is growing and still saying, being able to kill with 1 bullet. Don't put it in the papers, okay? We don't kill people.
Don't put that in the paper.
We don't kill people. That's just an example of efficiency, of being better, building the right team. The value proposition, if you have a better team. So what it translates is the following, okay? We have people that can do analog design better than... There's only 5 companies that can build services for 100 gigabit per second in the world. If you design your analog design better than your competitors and faster, you're going to have better products. They're going to be more reliable, much less bit error rate, performance better, and so on. That's exactly what we do. If you architect your solution so that the architecture, the partition between hardware, software, firmware, and so on is better, you'll be much more efficient, and the CPU and the memory and the storage will be utilized better, and you'll get a better ROI. If you understand it. Now, manufacturing, if you do how to do manufacturing better and more efficient, if you know how to clean the floors cheaper, that you'll have a better small and people will like, all those things are very important. So every small detail of everything we use, if you take this into account, you're becoming a better company. And nothing is too small to take into consideration, nothing. We know when we manufacture is what chemicals we use, what glue we use, what temperature, where do we buy? It's so important that people don't understand it sometimes.
So you're deep in the details?
Yes.
Yes? Always? Always
That-
been, since the beginning?
You mean the companies?
Yeah, you're...
Me? So I'm now less in the details because we have a lot of things going on, but I'm trying. So from time to time as the CEO, the focus is, if you're a small company, you need to know everything from all the time.
Right.
But when you become larger, I focus every week or on something else, and then I go really deep into the details so I know everything. And you always find things. And it's not because you're smarter, but you come from a fresh viewpoint. You've talked to many people, so you know a lot. So.
And I was in the office, and then just the guy came in and asked to speak with you, and he just came in and spoke with you. And the question that I had, which came from the crowd here, was about how do you attract these talents? How do you keep them with you? Because they have, as you said, they have Cisco, they have Intel.
First, I think it's attractive to work for an Israeli company.
Okay.
It's people like to work for a winning team, so you want to join a winning team.
Right.
And I think we are a winning team, and I think the atmosphere is very good. We work as a family. We take care of all that. You know, in Mellanox, we feel that the management works for the employees and not the other way around. So I feel like I work for my employees, for my team. If they know they're protected, if something happens on the personal thing, healthy thing, family thing, we're there with them. And people stay for a long time. People don't leave the company. I mean, they do, but very small percentage. So there's people for us with 14, 15 years. This guy wanted it, and there's another guy over there. I mean, I don't care. You can ask whatever you want, but
I'm going to ask Shai.
in like 5 minutes we're done. But you can ask anything you want in 5 minutes. Yes. Hello? Okay.
This battle to keep the company efficient as it scales, I'm sure company culture is a big part of that. What quirks do you think, or what is unique about the company culture that keeps it so efficient?
So I think first we're very, very fair. And we don't treat anyone different than anybody else. And number one, and we're very healthy. There's no bad bone in Mellanox. The integrity of the company is, we don't compromise, and it's all employees. You can do mistakes, you can do many things that are wrong, but you cannot break our integrity messaging and code. And we don't give up. We'll keep doing things until we succeed. Be very persistent.
I would like to move for next time, okay? Some questions about you.
Not my fault.
About you as a private investor. So we spoke before. You said you also invest by yourself. What kind of technology most interests you?
I don't invest in anything that's related to Mellanox because I don't want to create a conflict of interest. So I invest in other things. I invest in about, I don't know, 20 companies or something like this.
What kind of sectors, technology?
Applications, new technology for vision, 3D cameras, social apps, musical stuff,
So
fishing. Yeah, fishing. Yeah, fishing equipment, and I invest. Yeah, I don't even remember all the companies I invested in. I don't get involved.
3 tips. If someone want to come and pitch you, 3 tips how to prepare for a meeting with you as an investor.
I think it should be short. If you can't explain what you're doing and why should I invest in 5 minutes, don't come. You know, Ervin that decided to invest, he's still our chairman of the board for Mellanox, said you make the decision in the first 20 minutes to invest or not to invest. And it doesn't just have to do with the presentation, it has to do with who you are, how you come. Be very professional, dress nice, don't show off. You're not expected to be a superhero. Present in a calm way, be very responsible, very responsive. I also measure if they're listening, so teamwork. There are people that come and they just want to talk and talk and talk, and I ask them or try to work with them. So build teamwork with the people, make a lot of eye contact, and don't be afraid.
Eye contact is always good. And what's the most critical factor for startup to succeed?
It's the people.
It's also always about the people. Yeah.
It's all about the people.
It's all about the people. Okay. Some questions for Eyal about investment technologies. Yes. The biggest mistake, what was it?
We don't do mistakes.
Okay.
You know, I want to answer it differently, okay? So you make decisions every day, right? You want to go left or right. And you go left. And you get to the water. You never know what would have happened if you went right. Right? Could be another place. So we're doing things, and I don't know if the decisions were wrong or right because we just continue. We're not afraid, by the way, to change directions. So every time there's a direction we go to, and we can change it on a daily basis. So I'm not worried, okay, we made a mistake, let's go here or that. But it's like we're continuing to work, and we don't stop and say, wow, this is a huge thing. You can make a lot of mistakes. I don't think there was something huge we made. At least I don't recall.
Answer your question.
And I'm not vain. Okay, I'm not. And I'm not trying to show off.
More questions? Yes, please.
Gil Schwed, last week, he brought up the issue of taxation in Israel, whether he may move the company. Is this a serious issue that you can handle?
Yes. Yeah, the question was Gil Schwed mentioned last week about taxation and moving the company out. So Gil Schwed is a friend, and he's a very smart person. I like him a lot.
Can you ask him to join us for an event?
No. I can mention it, but I'm not gonna tell him to. Like Shlomo asked me, you'd come. No, I'm not gonna Shlomo him. But yes, it's a serious thing. The issue today is we live in a global world. And I don't know if you remember, but Mellanox was dual listed in Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and one day we decided people didn't think we were going to do it. So I said in a Globes event 3 weeks before we delisted that Mellanox doesn't feel comfortable in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. And there were headlines, Eyal is just talking, we're not doing things. And 3 weeks after we delisted, and people were in a shock. But we said it 3 weeks earlier, so people didn't listen. I think now we live in a global world. And in a global world, the company can decide where to pay taxes. And to build a tax structure, it's very easy. And that's what our investors and our employees and everybody involved in us expect us to do. So if the tax rate in Israel will grow, we'll just go someplace else. And it'll take us a few months, and we'll do it. And that's what Gil said. And yeah, it's a very serious thing. And we decided to be an Israeli company, same as Checkpoint, because we think it's good for us. But our shareholders are mainly American shareholders, US shareholders, or worldwide. So we want to do what's right for the company. We want to be in Israel, but we will not stay in Israel if the tax is too high.
Any more questions? Avi?
Big giant like Amazon start to build their data centers on their own hardware, mainly open source hardware and software. It will kill you?
No. They actually, so they're talking about boxes, less silicon, so they'll still be a big customer of ours. Yeah. So it's for us, I think it's a good thing. It's maybe not good for the system companies, but for us it's a good thing.
Okay, let's take 60 seconds for about 10 yes-no questions. Very, very fast questions. So you only answer with yes, no, or one answer. Team or single entrepreneur?
I don't. What do you mean one answer?
Would it be a team or a single entrepreneur?
Team.
Team. Business plan, yes or no?
Yes.
Crowdfunding, yes or no?
Yes.
Co-working spaces, yes or no?
Yes.
Exit,
I'm a positive guy. Why should I say no?
exit fast or grow?
Grow.
Prototype?
It's not a fair question because it's not suitable for everybody. So I'd like people to grow, but if your company or your team is not the right one, sell it. So you don't have everybody to grow. So it's not a fair question.
Okay, that's fair. Prototype versus user validation.
What's the difference?
If I'm gonna come to you with a prototype, nothing really works, but just a prototype, or I already have some.
I don't know.
Okay, China or the US?
In terms of what?
Market.
What are you selling?
Well, that depends.
Okay. So tell me what you're selling. I'll tell you where they go.
Consumer apps,
US.
US. Cisco or Intel?
Mellanox.
I just added that, you know. VC or angel investment?
VCs.
Go to market, globally or start locally?
Globally.
From day one.
Day one.
iOS or Android?
Doesn't matter.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate vanilla.
Museum or rock concert?
Rock concert.
Water pool or sea? Pool or sea? Yeah, you said the sea before.
Yeah.
Jerusalem or Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv.
Anyone writing that up? And then last one, would that be Apoel or Maccabi?
I don't care.
You don't care. Okay. I always let 2-3 people to ask yes/no questions, so it's going to be very fast one. Yeah.
What? Jordan, yeah.
One more.
But that's all time, you know. We're talking now about someone else. I said it's all times. Both. I saw the Cleveland Warriors in the finals in Cleveland this year, so I like the Warriors. That's the home team.
Just before closing, do you have like your personal agenda and the company agenda around social involvement? You spoke about Gaza, about the peace.
Yeah, we donate. We donate a lot to. We want to increase the. Excellency. Well, לא נשמע טוב. So we want to increase the excellency in Israel, if that's the right word. We want us to be better. So we believe that if you take the people that are on the top and make them better, they'll pull up the whole ecosystem instead of trying to come. So we educated, I think, about 180 people who are doing their BA degree or engineering degree while they're still in high school. We're also doing this for judo, for music, for violin, for some things. So we support excellency.
You want to encourage a renaissance, that's what you're trying to do.
A renaissance? I don't think we want to do that, but maybe, I don't know. We want to make the place that's around us better, and we do it worldwide.
And you also support, you told me, someone for the Olympics?
Yeah, we support 2 judoists, Yarden Jerby,
Wow.
and I forget the other guy's name. I don't know, I have so many things to remember. Why is that funny? I think it's sad. It's not that funny. I'd cry. There's my VP of sales. He has like a fiance, and never mind. Yeah.
Last question. It's we have.
I like that.
Yeah, it's. I know. We are on time. It's okay. So last question is the Peter Pan question. The Peter Pan question is for Eyal, not Mellanox. What would you do? What would you want to do when you grow up?
What I'm doing now.
What's the next thing for you? Politics?
You know, first I don't talk too much about my future because I've learned that you can find yourself in many different places, and I like what I'm doing now, so I'm going to do it now.
More scuba diving, and.
I like that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.